Okay, good evening, class. Now, today, what we are actually going to talk to you is about the competitive advantage, but at the company level. Okay, so let's start with it. Now, the first thing that we talk of is the process of strategic management. Like, what are the basic elements that is there? First is the environmental scanning, followed by strategy formulation, then execution of strategy, and then evaluation and control, right? And the different levels of strategy that we have is at the very top we have the corporate strategy, that is the business which tells you the business that you should be in. Then comes up the business strategy, that's the tactics that you need to beat the competition. And finally, the functional strategy, which is the operational methods that needs to be implemented to operational methods that has to be taken into consideration to implement the tactics. So competitive advantage, it's where we are talking of a business strategy at the company level, right? So competitive advantage, what? It's a corporate or a business strategy that is basically created for how by using resources and capabilities for achieving either a lower cost structure or a differentiated product, which we've already discussed before. And this decision is the main component of a firm's competitive strategy, along with other important decisions. But this is the main one, which tells how broad or narrow a market segment should be targeted. That is marketing STP, as we say. Now, the competitive advantage, when we say, it occurs when an organization acquires or develops a particular attribute or combination of attribute which helps in outperforming its competitors. We have discussed this earlier. And there is no one answer about what is competitive advantage, or there is no one particular way of measuring it, or what is the right reason for it. There's no one particular answer to this. Okay, so everything can be considered as competitive advantage, say higher profit, greater return, valuable resource, anything. And every company must have at least one advantage to successfully compete in the market, right? That has to be there. Now, competitive advantage, the model that we have, like how a firm can achieve competitive advantage. How can they do? Through external changes, which is changes in best factors and firm's ability to respond to fast changes. By developing it inside, that is through RIO resources, unique competitive uh, competencies, innovative capabilities. And there are two types of competitive advantage: cost and differentiation advantage. Okay, so an organization can achieve an edge over its competitors through two ways: either through external changes, where we talk of best factors come up. So best is political, economic, social, and technological. There will be many opportunities coming up, so which, if it is capitalized, it would help in benefiting an organization, and they would have an upper edge against its competitors. The second way is by developing them inside the company. So internal advantages, like that, either it can be through differentiation or advantage or cost advantage, right? When it starts developing its various resources, right? So next, let's talk of the external changes. Like external changes, as I said, political, economic, social, cultural, technological. So when these changes happen, factors change, any opportunities come up, which if a firm can exploit it in the right way, they can achieve an edge over its or superiority over its competitors. Okay. And if opportunities are appearing due to changes in external environment, uh, then why not all the companies are able to profit from them? That's a question, right? Why is it not possible? Because companies have different resources, competencies, capabilities, and they're affected in a different way by industry or macroeconomic changes. And so their companies' ability to respond fast to all these changes. Also, the degree of responding, it varies. Those who are able to respond faster has an upper edge, right? Internal environment is when we can do it through, as I said in my earlier class, RIO, Then we have SWOT. So Brio, we know it's where we are talking of value resources which are valuable, rare, hard to imitate, and which organized, that is the organization can capitalize on it, right? So some of this could be the intellectual property, the brand equity, we're talking of culture, know-how, reputation, right? Unique competencies is which is it's an ability to perform tasks successfully. Competency, when we say, so when you are able to perform your task successfully, and in it talks of some related skills, knowledge, capabilities, processes. So, and when a company is able to develop competency, has developed in producing some uh, say electronics, which would have a temporary advantage, for that's an example, and which is hard to replicate. So that's when we say it's unique, right? Innovative capabilities, what happens, like when sometimes companies can innovate their products, process, right, to gain a superiority over their competitors, right? So which gives them the advantage of the first mover advantage comes up here. Now, gaining competitive advantage, right? So there are many ways to achieve the advantage. One, two main things is one by cost and the other by differentiation, right? So cost is where so you can produce at a lower cost, producing the products and offering to customers at a lower cost. Differentiation is where you're having same products, but there's the higher degree of differentiation. It's able to compete with your rivals, right? And whichever company is able to outperform its competitors over a long period of time has a sustainable competitive advantage, right? So competitive advantage, we know, can be either a cost or differentiation. Cost is producing similar product at lower price, and differentiation, where we talk of price premium from unique product. Now, cost advantage, when we say, that is what happens. Companies have an advantage of producing similar quality products or services but at lower cost, right? So what is happening? Companies can sell products at the same price as competitors, but reaps higher profit margin because of lower cost, production cost, right? So example is that of when we talk of Amazon, right? Differentiation happens when you're offering some unique products or services and charging a premium price for that. So example, when we talk of Apple, Starbucks, and customers are willing to pay high for this unique features. Value chain is a cost strategy, right? It's a sequence of business functions where the utility is added to the products or services of the firm. And through proper analysis of each segment of the value chain, customer value is enhanced, right? And this value chain is an integral part of the strategic cost management, and which helps in the cost analysis. It sets the cost analysis on a broader context where cost information is used to develop superior competitive strategies. According to Porter, what the value chain is talking of a series of internal processes or activities which any company performs for designing, producing, marketing, delivering, and supporting its products. More value an organization create, more profitable it will be, obviously, right? And when you provide more value to your customers, you get a competitive advantage. So what is this? Value created and captured minus the cost of creating that value is your profit margin. So this is a diagram of the value chain analysis. Value chain analysis has primary and support activities, right? So industry value chain, what is it? It refers to the series of activities which adds value to the product which is supplied to the industry. Starts with the value created by, through the processing of the suppliers, provides the raw materials components, which then it goes with the different classes of buyers, consumers, and recycle, disposal and recycling of materials, like from the beginning till the end. Okay, so what are the primary activities? It's basically those activities which are directly involved in transforming inputs into outputs, and delivery, and then after sales service support to output. So what are the things that is there? You have the inbound logistics, where you talk of materials handling, warehouse operations, which transforms inputs into final product. Outbound logistics, which are order processing and distribution. Marketing and sales, where we talk of communication, pricing, and channel management. And services, which we talk of repair, parts replacement, installation. Support activities. Now, what are support activities? These are activities that support the primary activities, which is handled by the organization staff functions. And what are these? This talks of procurement, procuring of the materials, technology development, right? So procedures, technological inputs, human resource management, where you employ having the right kind of employees, developing their skills, replacing, promotion, rewards, and administration, where we talk of the general management, planning, finance, account, government affairs, quality management, right? So this is Porter's generic value chain model. This is how it looks like. Okay, so these are all your primary activities, and these are the supportive activities. So the firm's margin or profit actually then depends on the effectiveness in performing these activities, how effectively you're performing it, so that what happens, customers are willing to pay for the products, and the amount that they're willing to pay exceeds the cost of the activities. Right, and it is in these activities that happen that a firm has the opportunity to generate superior value. So competitive advantage can be achieved by reconfiguring this value chain to provide either lower cost or better differentiation. So cost advantage and value chain. Firm can create cost advantage how? By reducing the cost of individual value chain activities, or by reconfiguring the value chain. So once the value chain is decided or defined, cost analysis can be performed by assigning the cost to all the activities, right? And how do you, the cost is obtained from the accounting report, which is there. So according to Porter, these are the 10 cost drivers that we have, which is related to value chain activities. Here you can see it. And differentiation advantage, differentiation and value chain. Differentiation advantage happens from any part of the value chain. Say procurement of your inputs could be unique and not widely available to competitors. That can also create differentiation, right? To different distribution channels. So these are the different factors of factors of uniqueness that a firm can have, right? So linkage between the value chain activities. The value chain activities, they are not isolated from each other. Okay, so one value chain activity affects the cost or performance of the other, so they are interlinked. So that's where we say linkage exists between the primary activities and also between primary and support activities. So that is there. So compare and contrast the source of competitive advantage. Of any firm's competitive advantage, as we say, is derived from the difference between the value that is offered to customers and the cost of creating that customer value, right? And competitive advantage, as we said, it can come from differentiation or a low cost advantage. You see this is the table which talks to you about the difference between differentiation advantage and the low cost advantage, right? Now, technology and competitive advantage. Now, there are various technologies can be used in both primary and support activities for differentiation as well as cost advantage. So these are the different types of operational technology that we have. This is the different types of inbound logistics, outbound logistics technology. You have marketing and sales technology, service technologies, right? Next, we talk of strategic alliance, how it's a cost advantage strategy. A strategic alliance is what? It's an agreement between two or more parties to pursue a set of agreed objectives, which two parties agree, two or more parties, they already agree on the objectives to, uh, to pursue that objectives while remaining independent organizations. They are independent, but they work on a particular set of objectives. So this alliance will fall short what when of a legal this usually falls short of a legal partnership entity or any affiliate relationship, corporate relationship. So what happens, two companies form a strategic alliance. Legal is when each possess one or more business assets or have expertise that will help the other for enhancing the business. Okay, so it's not legally formed that it's permanently done. It's not legal partnership is when they will work for all the business, all the activities. But no, strategic alliance is only for specific objectives, specific businesses, not for other. Otherwise they maintain their individual identity and they will work for a long-term win-win situation. Okay, so and where the partners actually provide strategic alliance with resources, it can happen with different types of resources, and it's a type of cooperation or collaboration with the purpose for a synergy where each partner hopes that the benefits from the alliance will be greater than those from individual efforts. If they work individually, the results would be less, benefits would be less. Okay, so analyzing the competitive advantages. So first comes up is the structure of the industry. Now, competition with other firms is a key aspect of running a business of any size, from a brand new venture or to a large competition corporation. So it's there. It's a very key. It's a very common factor. And what we have and what are the things that we have? Many sellers, many buyers. This is one of the components that is there, right? So if a particular seller controls a large proportion of market, then what happens? They have the power to set the price. It happens, right? And when demand for a certain product or service is high, then price will tend to rise. We know that. And when demand is low, price would tend to fall. Now, there are four types of market structures that we have. We know perfect competition, monopolistic, oligopoly, and monopoly, right? Each of them has their own characteristics. Perfect competition is what? Where it's a market structure where a large number of small firms compete against each other and no single firm have any significant market power. So which is why what happens is the industry as a whole produces the socially optimal level of output because none of the firms can influence market prices. Now, when we talk of monopolistic competition, it refers to a market structure where there are a large number of small firms which compete against each other, right? But here what happens, like they sell similar products, but a similar but not identical products, similar products but with slight differentiated products. They have some slight differentiation which gives them a certain degree of market power, which allows them to charge higher prices within a certain range. Next comes up is oligopoly. Oligopoly, what happens? It's where the market is dominated by only a small number of firms, which results in a state of limited competition. Where the firms can either compete against each other or they collaborate and they work together, right? So what happens if they collaborate? They use their collective power to come up with the price, increase price, and earn profit. Monopoly, when we talk of monopoly, it's it's type of market structure where we have one single firm which controls the entire market. So the firm has the highest level of market power and consumers do not have any alternatives, so they can increase any amount of price and earn more profits. Okay, so this is a summary of all the markets that we just spoke about. You can see this chart which tells you about the details of the markets, different markets. This is again the same, the features of the markets that we have. Okay, so another way of defining market structure is market with respect to market entry and exit. A competitive industry allows firms to freely enter and exit the market and has few barriers to entry. Okay, perfect information. So what happens in a perfectly competitive market? Consumers, product, and producers have complete perfect information about everything that they have. Similar products, competitive in any competitive industry, what we have is firms must offer products that are similar enough to be considered to be to one another to be considered interchangeable. Otherwise, competition cannot happen. Okay, monopoly and monopsony. Monopoly is a market where just one seller. Monopsony is only one buyer. Okay. Okay. Next comes up is concept of competitive intelligence. What is it? It's a systematic collection and analysis of information from multiple sources and a coordinated uh, competitive intelligence program. So it's basically the talking of its action of defining, gathering, analyzing, distributing intelligence, that is information about products, customers, competitors, and any other aspects related to the environment, which would help the executives and managers to come up make a proper strategic decision about an organization. And it helps the decision makers to identify the opportunities for improving the organization's strategic position against their competitors, customers, suppliers. And but they depend on the qualitative information and the intuition of decision makers. It's important. Why competitive intelligence is important? Because it helps any businesses to understand their competitive environment, the opportunities and the challenges that it presents. Okay, marketing signals. So we are talking of bits of information which is sent or provided by one firm to another in an industry. Okay, so which conveys message information regarding product quality, reputation, intentions of other stakeholders, right? So this information is passed passively or unintentionally between participants. These information can be used for decision making and framing strategies. What is industry life cycle? It talks of the various stages where the businesses operate, say progress, prospect, slump within an industry. And these stages can last for different amounts of time, sometimes months, years. So what are these stages that we have? Introduction, growth, maturity, and decline, meaning that and it starts and then it grows and becomes stable, and at one point it declines. Okay, so but there is no universal definition for the various stages of the industrial life cycle. So but this is a common thing: introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. And it varies, length varies among in the industry. There's no specific time as to for each phase. So introduction phase is where it's a startup phase, right? It involves the development and early marketing of new products or services. And the industry usually seems to be highly fragmented at this time, right? The participants tend to be unprofitable because more expenses are earned at this time, incurred to set up, right? Revenue is low. Then comes up the growth phase, where we talk in the growth phase what happens. The consumers in this industry, they come to know about the value that the industry is offering, the products, and demand starts growing, right? There are some important firms which becomes more dominant here. Profit starts growing, businesses starts also becoming it starts improving and expanding. Maturity level is where it happens begins with a shakeout period, during which what happens, growth slows down, focus shifts towards expense reduction, and consolidation occurs. Some firms achieve economies of scale, which hampers the sustainability of smaller competitors here. So price competition becomes much more relevant here as price differentiation declines. Price competition is one. Differentiation doesn't play much of a role here. And then we come to the last phase, which is decline phase, which is the end of an industry's ability to support growth. So obsolescence coming up, evolving and markets negatively impact demand, decline of revenue happens. And but this phase can be delayed with large scale product improvements. If you go for innovation, then it can delay. Okay, internal and external environmental factors that affect business, right? If a business has to be successful in a marketplace, so it needs to understand what are the factors that have create an impact on them. So, which way we talk of both internal and external factors, which should be analyzed before making any strategic marketing plan, right? So you need to understand, analyze the individual elements, or like what are the individual factors which is affecting. First of all, like you need to understand that the environment has to give, you have to give due importance to the environment, uh, as it's where its environment talks of the surroundings or conditions in which a specific activity is carried on, right? So both internal and external, right? And because in business environment, it has an impact on the business success, develop scale, develop vision, development of strategy. So you need to have a full understanding of the business environment. It is very much important. What are the, when we talk of internal factors, we're talking of all the factors within the organization which is under the control of the organization, no matter whether it's tangible or intangible, right? And these are the different types of internal factors that we have as examples. External factors are, these are the external components which are outside the organization, and the company organization has no control over them, right? And these are again the different types of external factors, micro factors and macro factors. Now, internal impacts. Internal, what can be the impact that can happen, right? Now, if any of these internal factors helps, it brings about positive effect in an organization, it is considered as a strength. But if it prevents the development of a company, it is a weakness. So both has to be taken into consideration. So one of the factors is where we talk of human resources. Now, resources, if you do not, resource employees can be either strength or weakness, right? Depending on the skills, attitude, performance, right? Capital resources is also there. Funds is required. Inadequate fund can be a disadvantage for any organization. Operational efficiency. Operational efficiency talks of the practice of improving all the processes, right, which are all the company's activities which leading to the final product or services. Structure of the organization. What happens is it requires the owners to have in order to have a suitable organization structure, owners have to consider have to consider everything carefully before they set up a system to work smoothly within the company. The system that they set up has to work smoothly, right? Either it's centralized or decentralized, depending upon it, right? Next comes up is infrastructure. Infrastructure, other than the workers, your operational and effective and operational system should be there. Technology should be there. Which is all the other facilities should be there, which helps an organization to run in a better way. Innovation, right? Innovation is also important, like where an organization cannot survive without upgrading their ideas, new ideas, new technology. It has to be there. External impacts. External impacts, again, any external factor which has a positive impact on the organization will be an opportunity, and which does not, which poses a hurdle, is considered as a threat, right? And one is definitely the economic situation. Is about the economy, like it depends, like that has an effect on the way the firm runs, right? And there are 7 factors. These are the 7 factors which have a direct impact on the performance of the firm, the economic factors. Okay, next comes up is laws. Laws, rules and regulations of the government also plays a very important role in the development of an organization, right? Depends, like if the rules are supporting the organization, then it benefits, and if it poses a problem, then it is difficult for the organization to run. Technological factors. Now, technological factors, we have internet, artificial intelligence, and different types of technology which is available at that time, which also helps, has an impact on the organization, right? Because technology helps in generating profit and producing the results as per your customers' needs. Okay, customer demands. This is also there, like satisfying customer demand is a must for the business survival, right? So your product should be able to serve the needs of the customers. If your customers are not happy, then you will lose your customers, and you will start losing your profit, and it will be difficult for you to operate, right? So in a digital age, what happens? The customer's preference has changed dramatically. Why? Because they're able to browse through and get more information, right? And these are some of the changes that we find in customers' demand, right? Competition. Now, competition also exists. Will exist in the business and in industry. There are competitors. How you would be able to survive, how to survive in the market, what should be your strategy, how to be successful there. So it matters. So which good competition means it brings about innovation, better service, better core market understanding comes up. Okay, responding to competition. Now, understanding what your customers want and reacting to their needs in a quicker way as compared to your competitors will give you an advantage in a tough market. So you need to focus on the customers. That's the main thing. Okay. So understand your market and competitors. That's very important. The business, what understand who your competitors are and the market, the change in the markets, that helps you in coming up with better strategy. Now, the second thing is you need to do a proper market research to get proper information about customers as well as competitors. Okay. Also, you have to find out what your customers, you have to make an assessment as to what your competitors are offering so that you come up with something new, right? Something different. You need to do a proper SWOT analysis to understand the market situation, to know where you stand, where your competitors are today, so which helps you. And also you need to know about, understand what you mean by competitive advantage, do a customer research, find out the research resources for business and industry, use free market research kit to understand your competitors, analyze the market forces, changes also. Right? Okay, next comes up is disruptive change in industry. Now, what is industry disruption? It's a process whereby a smaller company with fewer resources is able to successfully challenge established incumbent businesses. Small company which has less resources is able to challenge an established business. That is disruption. Okay, disruption comes up. And disruptive changes, what happens? It suffers from an initial low performance from the mainstream market, right? So disruptive change is what? It's an innovation that creates a new market and value network and eventually disrupts an existing market. New change, new thing coming, it disrupts the existing market and all the value network, displaces established market, leading firms, products, and alliances. New firms come into play. Small firms come up, right? Gaining a competitive advantage, like every business, be it small or big, needs to have a competitive advantage to distinguish between itself from its competitors, right? So there are 4 methods of gaining competitive advantage: cost leadership, differentiation, defense strategies, and strategic alliances. Right? So cost leadership is same product, low price. Differentiation is differentiate products with uh, different attributes, technology. Defensive strategy is hold your position through defensive strategies, countering the attacks of your competitors. And strategic alliances is where you collaborate with some other organization, pool resources. Okay, so competitive advantage and the role of government. What role does government play? The government acts both as a catalyst and a challenger, as I've already said. So government as such, government does not act as like a, they do not as such act as an essential helper or supporter of industries, right? What do? They cannot create competitive industries. Only companies can do that, right? But the government, what do? They encourage. They encourage and push companies to raise their aspirations and move to even higher level of competitiveness. How? By stimulating early demand for advanced products, focusing on specialized factor creations, promoting domestic rivalry, by enforcing antitrust laws, encouraging change, right? And competitive advantage of government owned companies. Now, what happens? We are talking of public sector, right? The competitive advantage in public sector plays a very important role. Why? It not only improves the public services, also eliminates any inefficiencies and wastes. There's no pressure from competitors. Most of the times, no pressure from competitors takes a toll on the quality of services. Why? Because it's all government, right? So that's the main thing that comes up. So competitive advantage is an element or a group of elements of the strategy which offers advantage over the competitors. Now, public sector organizations and government departments are created why to fulfill the responsibilities of government and also expected to cooperate in the policy development and the delivery of services. Right? So where we talk of addressing market failure, providing common good, right? So also develop a role of public sector R&D to contribute to the development of the industry, creation of markets, right? Benefiting the agricultural sector. So the purpose mainly is not for commercial transactions to benefit a few, but to develop a sustainable capability of the industry in terms of efficiency, effectiveness, right? And what happens? The public sector organizations, they are funded from a central source of government funds, right? So where the constraints of a largely fixed pie creates competition with other government agencies funding. Each firm have resources, capabilities, and must take into account their environment to negotiate with relevant sources, right? And they are also dependent on some of the government bodies for giving them the directions and scope of operations. Antitrust action by government. What are antitrust laws? These are regulations that monitor the distribution of economic power in business, making sure that healthy competition is allowed to flourish and economies can grow. Now, it applies to nearly all industries and sectors, every level of business. It comes up. It prohibits a number of business practices which that restrain trade. Okay, illegal practices, illegal trade practices. Okay, right. So these are some of the examples of illegal trade practices. Now, next comes up is impact of government policies on business. Now, governments establish many regulations and policies that guide businesses. Some like a minimum wage, like some of these rules are mandatory, like minimum wage. But some policy, while there are other policies which may influence your business indirectly. Now, business needs to be flexible to respond to these changing rules and policies. Okay. A policy as a market catalyst. The government can implement a policy that changes the social behavior in the business environment. That can do. They can underwrite the development of a new technology that will bring the necessary change. Imposing on a particular sector more taxes or duties than are necessary will make the investors lose interest in that sector. So it happens. Sometimes duty exemptions, tax exemptions are also there, which would trigger in more investment. Next, political stability and political culture. Government policy will always depend on the political culture of at that time, and the policies of a country. A stable country will be different that of an unstable. So stable political system makes business friend can make business friendly decisions, which helps in promoting the local businesses, attracting foreign investors. Just the opposite happens when it's an unstable situation. Now, next is government taxation and spending. Government get money to spend from tax, right? So increased spending requires increase in taxations or borrowing. So tax increase, but what happens when government increase tax? It discourages discourage investment, especially amongst entrepreneurs, right? Who are taking the risk of starting and managing businesses. Increased spending means what? Their savings goes down, right? So they have less money for private investment. Whereas reduction in private investment, what happens? It reduces the production of goods and services, which actually leads to less employment, so elimination of jobs. Setting interest rates. Government policy can also influence the interest rates. Rise of interest rate means what? Increases the cost of borrowing in the business community. So higher interest means leads to decreased consumer spending. Lower interest rate means it attracts investment or increases in business production. Business starts increasing their production. Okay. Regulations and permits, that is also there, right? Trade regulations, federal minimum wage, which requirements for permits or licenses also affects the business. That also is there. So there is a regular checkup to say in restaurants, the regular health inspection happens, right? Now, businesses might spend a lot of money and time to comply with regulations, which may prove to be ineffective and unnecessary. And fair and effective regulations promotes business. Okay, so that's all that we have for you here, right? uh, if you have any questions, please let me know in the next class. Okay.